much for stopping by today. Our video today is going to be a book review of some of the books I've been reading lately. I have 4 that I'm going to share with you, and then I'm also going to share what I'm currently reading. But excuse the lighting. I have moved around this room a dozen times trying to find a good light. So I'm sitting over here in the corner with this light, what little light there's coming in, because it's a very, very rainy Sunday, Memorial Day weekend. But I knew if I didn't get this video done today, I don't know when I would, because it's going to be raining for several days. So anyway, without further ado, let's talk about these books. Let's just talk about what I've been reading. I've been reading The Paper Palace, The Cuban Heiress, The Trouble in Sullivan's Island, which also takes place in Charleston, so you know that was one of my favorites, and this great book by my son, his final book to his series, The Ayatollah Takedown. So let's get talking about these books, because I want you guys to have some great books to read this summer. And there's a lot of new books coming out. Christy Woodson Harvey's got a book coming out in June. Elin Hildebrand's got a book coming out. I can't even think of that. There's quite a few I've got on my watch list to check out for this summer. So I want you to have something to read so you're not bored this summer. So let's get started. All right, let's talk about the first book, Paper Palace. It was one of Reese Witherspoon's book club books, and my son gave it to me for Christmas. I didn't get around to reading it until, probably March. It was a very good book. It was a little different. The setting is on Cape Cod. The book, oh, by the way, is by Miranda Cowley Heller. I have not read anything else she's written. But anyway, the setting for this book is on Cape Cod. The main character is Ellie Bishop. She's married, she has a family. Her husband's name is Peter. She had also, in this book, one of the characters is her former boyfriend, who was her childhood sweetheart, Jonas. And Ellie has a mother who has been married several times, but currently is not married. And her mother is with them on Cape Cod. Now, this story takes place within a 24-hour time frame. So something happens one night on Cape Cod. This little cabin they have is not one of those luxurious homes on Cape Cod. It's something that was her grandfather's, had been in her family. It sounds, the way she describes it, very rustic. Not a lot of conveniences there, but it is on a lake. So something happens one night on the lake with Ellie and her former boyfriend, or former childhood friend, soulmate, sweetheart, Jonas, who is also married in there with him, and he's at the lake. They have a place there too with his wife and children. So because of this event that takes place that night on the lake, it causes Ellie to reflect back over her life. And so in this 24-hour period, she's taken you back to when she was a child, and the love that she felt for her father, and the indifference that her mother gave her growing up, and the things that happened to her when her mother was married to several other men, and how her and Jonas went their separate ways, and how she met Peter and their life. So it's all within a 24-hour period. So at the end of the book, she has a decision to make. And I guess by her thinking about all these things from her past kind of impacts the decision that she's going to make at the end of the book. Now, she doesn't come right out and say what the decision is, but I guess you could assume whatever way you take the story as to how she made her decision. So you need to read the book to find out. I know how I think what path she took, but maybe you might think, because I went back and read the ending again last night, and I thought, well, you could think that maybe she took the other path. So it is very interesting to try to figure out what way she's going to go. So I did enjoy this book. Again, The Paper Palace. Now, the next book This book is called The Cuban Heiress, and it's by Cleeton. And if you have followed my, gosh, it's getting darker in here. Sorry, the light is, let me see what I can do. If you have followed my other book reviews, I have reviewed 5 other books of hers. These books are an historical fiction, and the first one starts back during the Cuban Revolution in the 1800s, and the turbulence that Cuba has been going through forever and still is. But each book, she brings back a character that was in a previous book. Now, like I say, this is a historical fiction, so there is a creative license to this. But the setting is on the SS Morro, let me look again, Morro, M-O-R-R-O, Castle. It's a luxury liner, a true story, true ship, an actual ship that set sail in 1934. And it was a vessel that went from New York to Cuba, and a lot of very wealthy people sailed on it, and during Prohibition, the ship did serve alcohol and all, but it was also known for sneaking people in and out of Cuba and carrying arms. So the story is centered around 2 characters, Catherine and Elena. Now, Elena has been in the other books. She was born in Cuba and raised. Her parents were doctors, and they were killed in an automobile accident, and she was raised by her aunt Marta. Catherine and Elena are, as the book starts out, it's not divided in chapters, it's divided in characters. So it's Elena, Catherine, Elena, Catherine. When the book begins, you don't think that they even have any remote idea of who the other one is, but each of these women is set on this ship for a specific reason and to seek vengeance for something that has been done to them in their lives. So as you read the book, you will see how their characters converge. And true story, the SS Morro Castle did sink off the coast of New Jersey, I think it was September 9th, 1934. So in this book, the characters are on this ship, the ship goes down, and you have to see what happens to these characters, if they survive or they don't survive. There was a lot of controversy around the ship as to why it went down. The captain was ill. Some said the captain had been poisoned. There were explosives. There was gunpowder and all that on the ship. So I don't think it was ever been determined from what I read how the ship went down. But reading this book will make you want to go read the history on the SS Morro Castle. So anyway, these characters, these 2 ladies are on the ship for a specific reason. Catherine is engaged to a wealthy man who has a child. Elena is on the ship. She has a fake passport. Everyone assumes she's dead. They assume she died in a fire. So she has come aboard the ship with fake credentials to get back to Cuba. She needs to get back to Cuba for a reason. And in the book, you'll learn what that reason is. And Catherine is on this voyage with her fiance, and she's on the voyage to uncover something about this fiance. It's a really good mystery. Really, really good. I think I read it like in a day and a half. It's really good. All of these books by Cleeton are good, and I hope she continues to write about them, because I love that these characters resurface, and you get to see, when you finishing this book, I'll wonder, what on earth happened to Elena? But Elena may come back up in another book. So that's why I really like these books. So I would highly suggest this book and all the books in this series. Next book is Big Trouble on Sullivan's Island by Susan Boyer. Now, this is the first book in a new series of books she's going to write called The Carolina Tale. She had written an 11-book series of Liz Talbot. They were called the Liz Talbot series books. They took place in Charleston as well as this one does. And so this is a new spinoff from, not the same character. It's a different whole new character, but it's going to be a series. I guess I'm saying that right. But anyway, let's get on with it. Very good book because, you know, it took place in my favorite city, Charleston, and Sullivan's Island. So this main character's name, it's a long name, Hadley Scott Cooper Legree. And she has all those names, which you will find out in the story why she has it. But she is a private investigator. That's one of Susan Boyer's favorite things, because Liz Talbot was a private investigator. And she works in Charleston. She was, her former boyfriend is a special ops police officer in Charleston. She is currently broken up from her boyfriend. She is an orphan. Her mother died of cancer, I think when she was like 16 years old or 17, very young. And she never knew who her real father was until she was 16, and our mother told her, I think just as her mother was getting ready to die, and she did find out she has a half-brother. Now, her father is a very prominent man in Charleston. His name is Swinton Legree, and he's married to Judith. And all their little lives intertwine there. Anyway, Hadley is asked to do private detective work for a lady named Eugenia. She is married to a man named Everett Ladson, and they're separated. She has a house in Charleston. She also has a house that she lives in on Sullivan's Island. So Hadley has agreed to, and it tells you in the book how she met Eugenia. She's a very unique creature, lady, I should say, and her group of friends. But Eugenia has asked Hadley to investigate her husband because she wants to divorce him, and she wants to sell her house in Charleston. And the husband is not in favor of this, and Eugenia had a lot of money, and he wants Eugenia's money, because you have to read the book to find out. But anyway, Hadley is investigating the dude, and he's a bad guy. He has grown up with Swinton Legree, and they've all been friends for years and years. Well, Hadley learns that Swinton Legree is her biological father, and JT is her stepbrother. And so the book kind of weaves that in. She is not on good terms with Swinton. He wants to be on good terms with her and get to know her, but she is very bitter because he didn't come to the aid to help her mother when her mother was dying. So anyway, the story revolves around Eugenia and Hadley investigating Eugenia's husband, Everett. Several people are murdered in this investigation, and Hadley is on it, and it all comes back around, and at first they can't figure out how these people why they're murdered and how they come together. But Hadley solves the mystery, and it's really good, and I don't want to tell you too much. It has a happy ending. But if you like the Liz Talbot series, if you like the way Susan Boyer writes, it's very light and easy to read and funny. She has a good sense of humor running throughout the book. And these ladies, Eugenia and her friend and Hadley, they all get along so well. And let me say this, Hadley is approached by a man to house sit this fabulous brand new house on Sullivan's Island. And Sullivan's Island has a lot of fabulous houses. And this one's brand new. He's never lived in it. The story is he married a woman who didn't want to live on Sullivan's Island. So he's asked Hadley to house sit. So, you're reading it and I'm like, well, wow, that's pretty fantastic. She gets to eat all the food. It has all the bells and whistles as far as technology and everything. And she gets to live there. And you kind of, why would this happen? But you got to read the story to find out how all that plays into it. So there's a lot of things going on in this story, but they're all solved by Hadley, the private investigator. So I really enjoy this book. I will be looking forward to the next book in this series. So pick it up. It's a light summer read. You can read it easily on the beach or wherever you happen to travel this summer. All right, the final book we're going to review today just happens to be the author of it happens to be someone near and dear to me. It's my son, Matt Scott. And this is the final book in his 3-book series of the Surviving the Lion's Den. Surviving the Lion's Den. The second book was The Iranian Deception, and this is the Ayatollah Takedown. Now, if you have read these books, Ben Thrasher, the main character in all these books, is back with Beth Jenkins. Ben Thrasher has a number of code names, and Beth has a lot of code names too. They are former CIA agents, and they are back in Iran to help with the regime change and to take down the Ayatollah. So there are a lot of things going on. Tom DeLange, who was in the previous books, he is working covertly. He's in the United States, and he's working covertly with Beth and Ben Thrasher to help take down this Ayatollah. I have a hard time saying that name, Ayatollah. And Vivian, what was her name? I gotta look. Sorry, I had to write that down. Vivian Walsh, who was a former senator. She was a bad lady in the last book, but she comes to the aid of them in this book. So you have to read the book to find out if they were really able to take down the Ayatollah and make a regime change. And there's a lot of historical facts in this book, a lot of action, tons of action. I mean, I asked my son, I said, how on earth did you think of all this stuff? There's a little torture going on, and I'm like, Matt, how did you learn about this kind of torture? I was getting a little worried that he, where he was getting his facts from, but he said he researched it. So you have to read the book to see if Ben Thrasher survives all this. He goes through a lot. He gets banged up quite a bit in each book. So you have to read to find out if he survives. And a lot of people have asked me if Matt is going to write another book. He wrote these 3 books in a period of 2 years, so he has taken a little break. He does do radio interviews. He just did one for a radio station in Los Angeles. He is going to an authors convention in September in California, so hopefully it will lead to some more great things in his talent, because I think he's very talented. He's very gifted. He's always been a good writer, and I'm shocked as to where he gets this talent from, because it is not from me. And I'm not sure if it's from his dad. I don't know. It must have been a recessive gene. But I'll read you a quote that he put at the end of the book that kind of leads me to believe there will be maybe some other books. It says, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." And that's a quote by Lucius Annaeus Seneca. So maybe the end of this book brings a new beginning. So you don't know if he's referring to his writing or to Iran. So I hope that you will read it. It would help support my kid. I'm putting this big plug in him because I think he is so talented. And if you like political thrillers, if you like David Baldacci, if you like Joel Rosenberg, Brad Thor, this is the kind of book you would like. A lot of women don't like this kind of book because, it does have the little torture scene, but then a lot of women do. So all men typically like political thrillers. So I hope that you'll read it, and we'll see where Matt goes next, because I'm on the edge of my seat just like you are. So now I am currently reading Karen White's new book, The House on Parthenia. Now, this is a Royal Street novel. It's the second in the series of hers that takes place in New Orleans, and it's kind of a spin-off from her Trad Street series. So I will do a review on this. So far, I'm about 100 pages into it. It's very good. If you like the Trad Street series that she has written, I think there were 7 books in that series. You're going to love this one because it's definitely a good spinoff, and you know, you'll be familiar with the characters. Now, I do have a question. My sister gave me this book for Christmas, The Whalebone Theater by Joanna Quinn. Now, I have read, this is a Jenna Bush book club selection, and I am 150 pages into it. I would love to know if anyone else has read it because I'm struggling and I don't want to give up on it. It takes place in England in the early 1900s, 1920s, I think. It's very dry and I don't know. I want to keep reading it, but I want to know if somebody else has read it and what they think of it and if it gets better, because I hate to give up on it because I keep thinking it's going to get better. It's good, but it's just kind of drawn out and dry. So anyway, if anyone has read this book, please, please, please let me know what you thought of it. So that will conclude our book review. Bodie's sitting here next to me. It's a rainy day and he can't play. I'm going to swing the camera around so you can see him. There he is, hanging off the couch, taking his little nap. Bodie, look up. Say hi to the friends. Say hi to your friends. Yeah, is a book review boring? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's going to conclude our book review. I hope you got some good ideas for books you might want to read. You can't go wrong with any of them. Please let me know what you're reading and if you read these. And if you want me to continue with the book reviews, I know they're not for everybody, but let me know and I'll keep you posted on what I read through the summer. And until I see you next time, you guys take care. And I hope the sun is shining where you are because it's so dreary here. Y'all take care. Bye.